Then we've got Jamie Brighton from Adobe that will basically take over next, and he will speak to you very briefly about mobile, social, and a little bit additionally on video management, video analytics as well.
Thanks very much. Hi there, everyone. What I'd like to talk to you about is, as it kind of grandly says there, innovations in emerging media. Really, when I'm referring to emerging, what I'm talking about here is the fact that the ability to run campaigns and communicate with customers is now much more of a reality using all of these different types of media. I hope that most of us out there wouldn't launch a new website or come up with some new marketing initiative without making sure that we have analytics or some form of reporting in place in order to be able to say what our return on investment was from that particular activity. And the same thing should apply when you're thinking about your video strategy for your websites, the fact that we can now easily create video for our websites and actually measure the performance of that video should be part of your strategy in order to determine whether it's worth investing continually in each of these channels. And really, these three things, and there are obviously other forms of communicating that are important as well, but these three things are all about really optimizing the online experience that our customers and our prospects have. Most of us probably have in place website analytics in order to determine exactly what people are doing when they're on our website, but that needs to extend across the mobile experience and across the video experience, and to a degree as well, where it's possible, across our social media initiatives. But over these next few slides, what I'm hopefully going to sort of impart to you is some of the ways that you can actually monitor and measure your efforts within each of these different channels, really to make sure that you are optimizing that experience, but also to make sure that you're optimizing your marketing spend, because at the end of the day, your investment in any of these channels will only be continued if you can make sure that that investment is paying off. Really, the reason for mobile analytics and app measurement analytics is, or probably can be summarized as, how are people finding my app or my mobile website? What are they doing with the app or the mobile website when they arrive there? What content are they consuming? What pages of the app are they looking at? And ultimately, how is that app or that mobile website helping my overall success goals for that particular channel? Is it driving people to actually go on and acquire my product or sign up for more information from my website? Or if my app is monetized by mobile advertising, is my app successful in getting people to consume a certain number of pages and therefore a certain number of mobile ads? And when we look at how people try and extend their brand into the mobile space, a really great example from Walmart in the US, who have a pretty slick way of purchasing televisions on their website. It's proved very successful for them. And they wanted to really take that experience into the mobile space. So there are obviously a lot of ways that you can basically get into mobile. You might generate a mobile version of the website, or potentially you may come up with a dedicated application for iPhone, for Android, for BlackBerry. By looking at the analytics, Walmart were able to say that the vast majority of people who were already interacting with their site on the mobile platform were actually doing so on the iPhone. And so that leads them then on to say, well, we need to develop an iPhone-specific application if we want to get into mobile. And so what they did was they developed an app which had lots of other functionality, but the main thing that people picked up on was this ability to actually take a photo of a space in your house, and the app would then determine the relevant size for a TV that could be displayed there. And then obviously the next step was to show you a list of the relevant televisions that could be purchased directly from the Walmart site. And that's great, and they had a lot of downloads of that particular application. But the next step is then to actually say, what is the impact of that app? Warner Music Group have been very successful at marketing their acts, and some of the strategies that they have used have been around video. And in fact, recent band called Paramore, who've been creating a bit of a bit of buzz, they actually had a dedicated videographer who was out there filming content specifically for the Paramore website and the Paramore online community. And they had a number of different video players, one of which was on the mobile website for the band. And so the main question here is, how is video actually contributing to the success of this band? how is it helping us to get downloads of their music and also ultimately purchases of music and merchandise. And so looking at the analytics that were being generated from the video players, they were able to see clear spikes when they added new videos to the site, but more importantly, they were able to see which types of video that they were playing were being engaged with, so that they could then optimize the site experience to make sure that the relevant videos were there, exposed more obviously on the site, and that then led to more people purchasing from Warner. And just to touch on some of the things that Martin spoke about, by looking at your video analytics for on-site video, you're able to say exactly how much of each video is being consumed, and therefore whether it's relevant to actually run things like pre- and post-roll advertising, and are people actually consuming those adverts, or are they seeing them and then ignoring them, and potentially that's lost revenue. Warner were also very successful in promoting Paramore through social media. And we all know that that conversations are going on all the time in the kind of real world. But it's obviously critical to try and understand what is actually being spoken. And it's very important to not only listen to those conversations, but also to try and participate wherever possible. We liken the listening to conversations in social media to the kind of conversation that you might have at maybe sort of a networking event like this, where it's really important to listen more than you speak, and at least initially strive to understand what's being said to you rather than be understood. It's also very important not to just focus on yourself. So it's all very well having your own Facebook page, but if all you do on that page is continually push promotions at people and don't initiate a conversation with them, then they're likely to be turned off by that activity. And so it's important to be regularly in touch with people with a relevant message. Now, the types of conversation that are occurring out there, we see those as falling into maybe 4 different sort of sectors. So there are conversations about sales of the product, and people who run the website are going to be more interested in those types of conversation. If there are lots of tweets out there about how bad your product is or how people are having problems with particular functionality, then it may well be worth having a dedicated support channel. And Adobe itself has, I'm not saying that there are a lot of people saying how bad Adobe products are, but Adobe does have its own Twitter support channel where people can actually post questions about the products, and dedicated representatives will actually answer via Twitter. So that not only does that individual benefit, but anyone who's following that stream will also get the benefit of the answer to those questions. The third is obviously brand awareness. How much is my brand being spoken about? What is the sentiment out there? Are people positive or negative about the brand? And finally, we see innovation. So if people are talking about functionality that they'd like to see in your product or services that they'd like your business to offer, then by looking at what they're talking about, it helps us to really innovate and drive new product. So column in the middle is all of the different types of sort of social media that you might well be investing in. It's very important to listen to those conversations and to those social media channels first, because listening enables you to research, and research is also a crucial thing, because by listening to what's going on out there, you're not only able to listen to what people are saying about your brand, but you're also able to listen to what people are saying about your competitors. And that can be very important if people are saying certain things, if your competitors are generating more buzz. It's important, obviously, to understand why, or at least try and understand why. By listening to what's going on in social media, you're also able to affect reputation management. So it could be brand awareness, it might simply be copyright infringement, or crisis management, as we saw with the sort of fairly obvious examples like the BP disaster that happened fairly recently. Once you've listened, you're then able to participate. And by participate, we're talking about things like support, as I've already mentioned, but also marketing and running those campaigns. So when you know that people are talking about particular things on Facebook, it then becomes a very straightforward activity to run a targeted campaign that talks or looks at those people who are talking about specific things on Facebook. So the message that I would like to leave you with is really, you wouldn't expect to run any kind of normal marketing campaign or what we would think of as a traditional campaign without having the analytics in place to actually make sure you were getting a good return on investment from that campaign. The technology exists already to make sure that you are optimizing all of your spend across video, social media, and mobile as well. And so make sure that you speak to your analytics provider, your agencies, to ensure that these things are in place before you undertake any initiatives in those areas. Thanks very much.